This week, I'll be teaching you sentences. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to say the meaning of sentences, mention elements of a sentence, write basic patterns of a sentence, and list types of sentences. What is a sentence? A sentence is a set of words that is complete in itself. It is a group of words that contains a subject and a predicate. Most times when I ask you to define sentence, many of you would say a sentence is a group of words that makes complete sense. That is correct. But particularly, a sentence contains a subject and a predicate. There are three basic parts of a sentence you must know. The first one is the subject. The subject is the person or thing that does the action. The second basic part of a sentence you must know is the verb, which is the most important element or component of a sentence. The third one, of course, is the object, which is the person or thing that suffers the action of the subject. What is a clause? In course of this lesson, you'll be meeting clause. You'll see two types of clauses that we have in English. And a clause is a group of words that includes a subject and a verb. Or like you always define clause for me, some of you that are very good, of course, in this topic, some will tell me that a clause is a group of words that contains a finite verb. That is a perfect definition of a clause. Okay, let's look at examples of a clause here. I graduated last year is a clause. You can see there's a subject I and a verb. A clause must contain a subject and a verb, which usually should be a finite verb. When I came here, I saw him. When I came here is a clause. You can see how I underlined it in these sentence examples. There are two types of clauses. You have the main or independent clause and the subordinate or dependent clause. There are two types of clauses. You have the main or independent clause and the subordinate or dependent clause. Subordinate or dependent clause. This type of clause does not express a complete thought and cannot stand alone. The subordinate or dependent clause depends on the main clause to complete its meaning. Sentence example. When I was traveling to the village, I had an accident. When I was traveling to the village, of course, is the subordinate or dependent clause in this sentence. I had an accident is a main clause. It can stand on its own and make complete sense. I know the man. I know the man is a complete sense, okay? It's a complete sentence on its own. It's a main clause which can stand on its own and make complete thought. Who stole the watch? So if I say who stole the watch, of course I'll be asking you, what do you mean by who stole the watch? Until you complete that sentence by adding I know the man or I know the person who stole the watch. So who stole the watch in this sentence is a subordinate or dependent clause. Let's look at the independent or main clause. This type of clause, of course, can stand alone and express a complete thought, like I said earlier. Let's look at sentence examples. He is a wise man. He is a wise man. This sentence contains the subject and, of course, the verb. Final verb is. I like him. The subject here is I, and followed by the verb like. You can see that this is a complete sense, okay? So these two sentences can stand on their own and make complete thought. Elements of a sentence. Elements of a sentence, of course, a sentence contains a subject and a predicate. Okay, so we'll be looking at the elements of a sentence. What are the elements of a sentence? The basic elements of a sentence include the subject, the verb, the object, the complement, and the adverbial. The subject, the verb, the object of course has direct and indirect objects, and the complement has subject, complement, and object complement, and the adverbial, which is called SVOCA. There's an acronym that represents these 5 elements that makes up a sentence, which is SVOCA, SVOCA. There are 7 basic sentence patterns. We'll look at them in this lesson. The first one is SV, which is made up of subject and verb. Sentence example, Alake came. Alake, of course, is the subject. Came is the verb. The second one is SVA, which is subject, verb, adverbial. He played yesterday. The subject, can you tell me what the subject is? Did I hear you say he? Good. Beautiful. You are learning. He is the subject. Played is the verb. And yesterday is the adverbial. The next one is SVC, subject, verb, complement. She is a doctor. The subject is she, verb is, and then the complement is a doctor. Who is being complimented here? The subject, that is she. The next one is SVO, subject, verb, object. Patricia bought the book. Patricia is a subject, bought is a verb, the book is the object. SVOA is made up of subject, verb, object, and adverbial. Example, the woman took the children away. The children is the subject, the verb is took, the children is the woman is the subject, took is the verb, the children is the object, and away is the adverbial. The sixth one is SVOC, which consists of subject, verb, object, and complement. Can you repeat after me? Subject, verb, object, complement. Okay? Sentence example, we considered her beautiful. We in this sentence is the subject, considered is the verb. Can you tell me the object? Her, of course, her is the object, and the complement is beautiful. The last one is SVOO. In some sentence patterns, you have 2 objects, the indirect and the direct object. So in this particular one, you have the subject, the verb, the indirect object, and the direct object. Her husband bought her a dress. Her husband bought her a dress. Her husband is the subject. The verb is bought. Her is the indirect object. The direct object is a dress. The indirect object comes usually before the direct object. Take note of that. So we take the elements one after the other. Already you know that the subject of a sentence is a person or thing that is performing the action in the sentence. This sentence example, the man is dancing. Of course, the man is the subject. The verb. The verb, like you always know, is the action word in a sentence. That is the doing word in a sentence. In the sentence example, Jennifer walked to the store. Walked is the verb. After lunch, I will call my mother. Will call is the verb. Objects, indirect and direct objects. The direct object receives the action of the sentence. The direct object receives the action of the subject directly. Okay, it's usually a noun or a pronoun. Look at this sentence example. Mrs. Agnes sells clothes. Mrs. Agnes is the subject, sells is the verb, and clothes is a noun. That is the direct object in this sentence. The alligator eats it. It is a pronoun, of course, and is the direct object in that sentence. Indirect object indicates to whom or for who the action is being done. Sentence example, the man builds his family a house. The man builds them a house. The man builds his family a house. His family is the indirect object in this sentence. The man builds them a house. Them is the indirect object. Can I repeat that? I'm sure you have other sentence examples, but let's look at this again. The man builds his family a house. His family is the indirect object. It comes before a house. Okay, that is the indirect object. Like I told you, the indirect object comes before the direct object, which is a house in this sentence. The man builds them a house. Them is the indirect object. Complement. Like the object, the complement has subject and object complement. Let's look at the explanation. Object complement is a noun, a pronoun, or an adjective that follows a direct object to rename it. Okay? Example, they made him a leader. They made him a leader. In this sentence, can you tell me the object in this sentence? Okay, him is the object. So, a leader is the object's complement. It is complementing him in the sentence. Subject complement either renames or describes the subject. It is usually a noun, pronoun, or an adjective, just like the object complement too. Sentence example, the man is a good father. Father here is the subject, renames the subject, the man. Okay, good is the adjective that is complementing the father. Is the linking word there. Okay, father is a noun which renames the subject, the man. The man seems kind. Kind is an adjective. Okay, so the man is renamed there, and of course, seems is a connecting word. There is a linking verb there. Adverbs are words that we use to give more information about a verb. That is basically what an adverbial does in a sentence. Okay, it gives us more information about a verb in a sentence. This morning, the phone rang. This morning is the adverbial in this sentence. Adverbs are words that qualify a verb, adjective, or other adverbs in a sentence. Keep the box anywhere. Anywhere is an adverb. Like you already know, adverbs are words that qualify a verb, an adjective, or other adverbs in a sentence. Types of sentences. Sentences can be classified according to function or according to structure. The first instance, let's look at how sentences can be classified according to function. As a declarative sentence, interrogative sentence, exclamatory sentence, imperative. Declarative sentence is the type of sentence that makes a statement whether positive or negative. Example, I was there when it happened. Wait for me there. An imperative sentence is used to issue a command or instruction, or to make a request or a plea, or even offer an advice. Example, pass the salt, move out of my house, shut the door. All these sentences are imperative sentences. Interrogative sentence makes direct question and is punctuated at the end with a question mark. Example, what are you doing? What are you doing? Which of the books did you read? You can see these sentences are ended with question marks. They are interrogative sentences. Exclamatory sentence. An exclamatory sentence conveys a strong emotion and ends with an exclamation mark. Example, oh, what a bright day. How elegant she looks. Okay? Usually at the end of an exclamatory sentence, you have an exclamation mark. Take note of that. Sentences can also be classified according to structure. You have a simple sentence, complex sentence, compound sentence, and compound complex sentence. Again, a sentence, like I said, can be classified according to function or structure. Here we're looking at sentences that are classified according to structure. Example, simple sentence, complex sentence, compound sentence, and compound complex sentence. The simple sentence expresses a single thought. It consists of only one independent clause. It consists of only one independent clause or a main clause. Example, Joe waited for the train. Joe waited for the train. Joe is the subject, waited is a verb. The train was late. The train, of course, is the subject, and was is a verb. Mary and Samantha took the bus. Mary and Samantha is compound subject, and the verb there is took. So these sentences shows example of simple sentences. Compound sentences. A compound sentence is two or more independent clauses joined by a conjunction or semicolon. Let's look at the example. My mother washed the vegetables. Then she cut them into little pieces. Tom reads books, colon. His friend reads comics. So you can see the semicolon, the use of semicolon to separate, to bring the two parts of the clauses together. The first clause is Tom reads books. It is an independent clause. It can stand alone. His friend reads comics. You can see that it's also an independent clause. But when you bring them together, you can use a semicolon or a conjunction to join them. A complex sentence consists of an independent clause plus a dependent clause. Okay? Although my friend begged me, I chose not to go to the reunion. I chose not to go to the reunion is a main clause or an independent clause. Although my friend begged me is a dependent clause. It depends on the main clause to complete its meaning. Because Alex and Michael arrived at the bus station late, I didn't see them. I didn't see them is an independent clause. It can stand alone and make a complete sense. Because Alex and Michael arrived at the bus station late is a subordinate clause. Compound complex sentences consist of at least two independent clauses and one or more dependent clauses. Let's look at one example that I have here. I went home because it was getting late, but I had to wait on the porch until my mother got home. Okay, I went home is independent, is a main clause, and it can stand on its own. The subordinate clause following it is because it was getting late. I went home because it was getting late, but I had to wait on the porch. It's another independent clause. Until my mother got home is another dependent or subordinate clause. And with that, we come to the end of this long but interesting lesson on sentences. If you have any problem understanding any of the topics in this lesson, please ask your question in the question and answer box that is below the content page. See you next lesson. Stay safe. Bye.